Welcome back to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome back to our watch club for Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2. Sometimes a door is just a door. Welcome back to Watch Club. My name is CT0831, but you can call me Hugs. And this is our Watch Club for Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 5, titled Entombed. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Watch Club, our weekly review series, kind of like a book club, but way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and Star Wars in general, so if you haven't watched this week's episode yet, be sure to do so, and then come right back in less than 12 parsecs. Now, before we make up more stories about the heart of the mountain, let me introduce you to our experimental crew of ragtag troopers. First up, he's dropping in from the sky, way up. Hi, we have the dopest, dankest dude on Dagobah, CT1006, but you can call him Joints.
Ahoy, hoy. I got it this week.
Ahoy, hoy. We did it, everybody. That's it. Podcast over. We don't even have to keep going. We got the ahoy, hoy. And listen, rounding out our small battalion, we are so glad to have a true, I can't do the whole thing, true friend and war hero joining us. And her name is CT0118, but you can call her Brushstroke. How's it going tonight?
It's going good. You are doing such a good job. Don't put yourself down.
I was trying. Well, that's very Omega of you to say that. Thank you very much. Another side mission episode this week. I feel like it didn't work for me personally as good as last week's. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
You're getting some
kind
nods
of, kind
from
of
us.
a buzzer, a buzzkill. Yeah.
But listen, before we get entombed, let's get into this plot. Our episode 5 kicks off at a junkyard, which is like, I think that's Wrecker's and Omega's like favorite place to be. Yeah. Besides there and like the Mantel mix stand, like those two places are their favorite places in the galaxy. But we start off at a junkyard and we see that they're looking for a spare compressor for the Marauder. Omega and Wrecker return to the bar where Phee discovers a compass with coordinate markings for something hidden in the Kaldar trinary system. This sparks Omega's interest, and she she puppy dog eyes Hunter and the rest of the crew to go exploring. Phee joins them as they travel to an uncharted planet, and Hunter is wary of how smitten Omega is with Phee. So what do you think, of Omega's relationship with Phee here? And do you think Hunter is right to kind of be like, hey, maybe keep your distance from this pirate?
Yeah, I mean, I think Fee's not the most trustworthy. I don't know if I am a big fan of her after all, too, because this episode seems to be setting her up as another familiar character's role that I'll probably get into later. But yeah, I mean, she's shady, and Omega seems to way too easily attach herself to these shady, powerful women figures in her life, and it's just like, I don't know if I appreciate that. So I'm definitely on Hunter's side, being like, maybe step back a bit.
Yeah, I totally see that point of view. She is very much a child, and in these moments, that's when it's revealed most that she's super trusting and doesn't see or doesn't sense that like uneasy feeling that you get from pirates specifically. So hopefully she'll learn to, take a step back and really think about the way these people say things.
Oh, and it's interesting because I think Omega, you have to imagine putting yourself in her shoes, right? In her little tiny shoes, and just sort of, she wants something different at this point in her, life so far. It's not a long life so far, but just the fact that I think she's gained a sense of bravery, like we've discussed in past weeks, and this sense of adventure that she feels, maybe she feels like the Bad Batch is starting to lose it, or at least Hunter is starting to lose that sense of adventure and that sense of fun. And I think she sees Phee as someone, even more exciting in this moment than her own space dads, right? And I think she wants to maybe have some fun and not just do missions all the time. And I think that's kind of where her eyes light up. And so in a way, Phee is almost like this escape for her. And I think that's a similar feeling to how she feels about Sid, like we talked about last week with sort of her relationship with Sid.
Also, I would love to point out the music at the very, very beginning of the episode when Omega and Wrecker are sort of scrapping through that huge heap of junk. It felt very nostalgic to the first 3 episodes of like the films. I don't know why, but there was this air about the like strings, the sound of the music was very nostalgic. And I love when that kind of stuff pops up in shows like this, where it's current, it's a new era, it's past order. Oh, well, but I guess it's kind of the same generation as episodes 4, 5, 6.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you know, it's I think it's there's an air of nostalgia whenever we're on like a desert planet, right? Like that junkyard looked very much like it was on a deserty planet, and it's like, yeah, that's gonna happen. You mix in some John Williams sounding strings, and yeah, you're gonna be taken right back to that place. But I wanted to just quickly call out, because I think, you know, and well, let me just quickly say, we watched this episode together. Megan's Omega 100%. Like, she gets so excited, and her facial reactions to these episodes make me enjoy the episodes more, even when it's an episode like this where I'm like, I'm not too hot on it, and just watching her like freak out at certain things was fantastic. So thank you so much for that, Megan.
Of course.
But even in comparing it to Omega, and just how excited she gets about, like, look what I found, and it's like, what is it? And she's like, she doesn't even know. Like, she's just excited that she found something. And it's so lovely. And it just, Omega rocks. It's so good. So good. But let's keep going here. Upon touchdown, the compass activates and draws the crew south, where they discover the entrance of Skara Nal being older than Jedi. Phee tells them that they're going to liberate the heart of the mountain, and after completing a puzzle straight out of like a Zelda game, the crew are trapped, but Omega solves yet another puzzle, granting them access to a hallway where they run into this terrifying creature, and while shooting at it, they accidentally shoot down some rocks, causing them to yet again split up. And it's funny because, like, we're kind of like, it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, oh, they're split up like again. And literally last week we were just saying like,
split them up more.
I want them to split up more. So but I think it's the way that they are split up here that to me it felt a little. It didn't feel creative enough. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It kind of just felt convenient. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a Star Wars fan who's not happy about anything that they get, like most Star Wars fans. But listen, Omega solves yet another puzzle that allows her and Phee and Hunter to get back to the others and eventually gain access to the heart of the mountain. However, after removing the heart, they realize that they're not actually inside a treasure vault, but in an ancient mechanized behemoth that starts rampaging and destroying everything in its path, which could include the Marauder, which could strand them there. And if that wasn't bad enough, the monster comes back and attacks them, the monster from earlier. They manage to toss the beast out of the window and replace the heart just in time to shut down the behemoth as it starts breaking apart. The crew survive the behemoth falling in this massive explosion, and they head back to the ship as Phee fills Omega's head with another could-be adventure of the Chalice of the Kingdom of Elways. So I know I mostly got through literally the entirety of the episode there. So before I get to my questions, if there's anything you guys want to chat about, it's just, I mean, I think the reason I got so quickly through this episode was just because not a lot happens in this episode. They kind of sort of just cut to the ending, kind of like what it feels like we're about to do in this watch club. But before I get to my questions, did you guys have any thoughts on sort of what we saw?
Well, initially when they, figure out that there's a door behind all of those rocks and they start walking in there's all these, sort of carvings on the wall with the posts. I was like, oh, a Jedi temple? And then she goes, this is before the Jedi. And I went, crap. And then this giant mecha thing starts coming to life. And I was like, oh, it's not a Jedi temple. It's a tall neck from Horizon Zero Dawn.
Absolutely. I literally have that written. I have Horizon Zero Dawn written down.
I never even played the game and I saw that connection. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little bit all over the place. I will say it was really fun to watch Omega solve these puzzles with this compass on her own with no help from anybody. They were, overthinking everything. And like the quote you said at the beginning, sometimes a door is just a door and things are a little more obvious than you would expect. So it was sort of fun to play along this like quote unquote escape room that she was doing. And it felt very like sort of National Treasure, what I wish we got from National Treasure.
From the actual National Treasure series.
And very Indiana Jones. The moment that Phee pulled that thing out, I was like, oh, is there going to be like a giant ball coming from somewhere now and they're going to run? And so it sort of played on those mystery puzzle solving films, and I liked that inspiration.
I think the biggest gripe with me is the fact that we were introduced to Phee as this pirate in that first episode, and it's like, oh, this is cool. There's gonna be some really like neat stories to be told with this character. And then when we finally get a story with the character, it just seems like they're trying to do Dr. Aphra from the comics without doing Dr. Aphra, because she seems more of an archaeologist, like Indiana Jones style, than a pirate. Like pirates are going out raiding ships. That's in my head what a pirate does, is attack other ships and steal their cargo. So the fact that she's going into these ancient tombs and stuff like that and exploring history almost, it's like they're trying to do Dr. Aphra and not doing it well, because Dr. Aphra is such a good character and we could see her in this timeline. She would just be kind of like a fledgling archaeology student or whatever, getting into trouble across the galaxy. So that to me is a big letdown. And just the fact that this whole like ancient civilization, we got like 1 or 2 lines on it and that was it. Like, what was this civilization that had this automated self-defense system that just destroys anything it can see? Like there was no explanation as to what they were going into, other than it was a treasure like a temple, but it's not. Like it that bugged me a lot.
And that's, I think, a huge part of what sort of didn't work for me. I feel like they're usually so good, even in these side mission episodes, of sort of building out the places that they visit, or the extra storylines, even just a little bit more to get our interest peaked, so that if they want to exploit us financially by making us buy a comic book in the future that explains all of it, they totally can, and I'm totally fine with it. That's how they do their Star Wars storytelling. But I think, to your point, Darcy, it's like, with what Megan was saying, sometimes a door is just a door. I think they were trying to balance that in the narrative itself, of sort of being like, it's just an adventure, don't think too much about it, but then don't say things like older than the Jedi, and do some crazy stuff like that.
Show
us
stuff we've never seen in Star Wars. Don't show us things that we've never seen and then not explain it. That bugs me the most about Star Wars.
Yeah, and I will say, like, speaking of things that we've never seen in Star Wars, the mech was cool, but it was very un-Star Wars like in its design. Like, Megan, you called out Horizon Zero Dawn. It kind of felt like they were almost going for like a mechanized version of a Ronto. If you know what a Ronto is, it's, I mean, not just the Ronto rap, but like it's the thing that you see in one of the movies. Is like this giant, anyways, like a dinosaur thing. Look it up. But it kind of felt like they were like combining that with an AT-AT. And I think for me, it's like, I get that it's older, or supposedly was older than the Jedi. So maybe it makes sense for its design language to look very foreign to what we understand about Star Wars. But at the same time, I was like, Mel is not necessarily the most trustworthy narrator. Like, even in the episode, there's a moment where they're like, Hunter calls her out. He's like, you're just making this stuff up. So then at that point, I'm like, well, then is this thing even older than the Jedi? Does it actually make sense to be in our Star Wars galaxy? And again, it was just one of those things where I was just kind of like, just really taken out by something that should be so cool, but really just sort of fell flat for me. I don't know. Again, I'm sounding like a complainy, like, not my Star Wars, push my glasses up kind of guy, but like, I don't know. It needs to make sense for me visually and I think canonically for it to work. I don't know.
Yeah, again, a bit more explanation of the history of the object would go a long way to make why it looked the way it did make sense to us. Because if it's from before computers and droids became the way to navigate the stars, maybe there were these ancient magics or whatever it is that creates this giant laser beam firing giraffe thing. Like, again, give us more information behind that and I'll be okay with the way it looks and why it's so different. But without that, it's just, like you said, very out of place and takes you right out of the whole Star Wars of it all. Like, it didn't feel like a droid and it didn't feel like a ship, yet it's in this universe without any explanation. Very irksome.
Exactly. A little exposition will make it feel like your Star Wars.
Yeah, and I think it's the idea of like maybe, you know what, instead of two, I'm not a writer, and I'm not ever going to say that I'm a good writer, but maybe just take away one puzzle, have only one puzzle instead of two puzzles, and then give that other moment in time, that little 3 minutes, for a little bit more exposition where maybe Tech discovers something that actually is true, and it completely maybe invalidates what Phee is making up, but then Fee's like, hey, don't worry about it, like, let's just have fun kind of, you know, motif. Sure, that's, you know, there you go, fixed, easy. As if I could write any of this. But I also just, I spent the entire episode worried about Mel. I was so worried about Mel. I'm like, why is she out of the ship at that point? Get her back on the ship. Why did she get destroyed? Like, they just have that throwaway line at the end of Phee just being like, well, I got a backup on the ship. And I'm like, no. Yeah. There's no respect for these droids out here. Did we learn nothing from, you know, the not as good Star Wars spinoff? It's Solo, right? Did we learn nothing from Solo and the droid liberation? Like it's just unfortunate. Hashtag respect for droids. I think we need to figure that out in our Star Wars, because to just say that there's a backup of Mel somewhere, I'm like,
no,
that wouldn't be the same Mel to me. It wouldn't have any of the experiences like right up to that end. Like, how recent is that backup? It'd be a completely different droid if you ask me.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. So yeah, that's there's our feelings on this episode. It's not the most in-depth episode, and yet it could have been. That's the part I think that's kind of bugging us the most, is that it very well could have been. Don't tease your audience with like older than the Jedi and then just be like, I made it all up, and then nothing ends up happening at the end of the episode. Nothing matters at the end of this episode. Just it happened, and then that's what happened.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even that moment of tension after they get split up, and with Wrecker, Echo, and Tech trying to find their way back. And you're like, oh, there's suspense building. Oh, what's around this corner? It's the other three. They found them. That's it. And it's just like, oh, okay. Could have been a cool little tunnel battle or sequence there, but nope. They're just like, they found the other people, and here we go on the way again. It's a lot of this episode was a letdown after some really cool setups.
Yeah, it did feel really cookie cutter. Like the way the rock fell between the two groups, and they're separated, and then this suspenseful music. Oh, they found each other.
Yeah, it's like, again, I think the biggest thing for this, because anytime we rip on these episodes, it's like, yeah, it's still fun Star Wars at the end of the day, absolutely. And you know, if this was the narrative of an escape room, a Star Wars themed escape room, holy hell, I'd be like, that was so impressive, I had so much fun. But I didn't feel like I was living this with them. You got hints of it, but it never really felt like we were like along for the journey, when we're kind of just sitting there kind of feeling like we're, you know, watching it from a distance and just sort of being like, yeah, okay, yep, that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But listen, let's get to our final thoughts and our overall score for this episode, which we're going to be rating on a scale of 1 to 5 hearts of the mountain. And Megan, we're actually going to start with you this week.
Okay. Like I said before, I really enjoyed the puzzle parts of it. It gave me what I wanted out of the National Treasure series. And I liked doing that along with Omega. Watching her figure this all out for herself was really cool. And seeing the combat between Phee and the Bad Batch, and how they just don't agree on the way to go through this mountain or the way to figure things out, was a plus. However, it faltered because everything felt very cookie cutter. It all sort of just worked out, and we like, you know, the darker episodes that we've previously watched. It's exciting when things don't necessarily work out the way they're supposed to for this group. So it kind of sucks to get like a happy ending for this episode.
Well, except for Mel. Yeah.
But it's okay. She's got a backup. Again, like everything just sort of worked out. So, you know, I'm doing the opposite of Nate. After this discussion, my score is lowering itself. I enjoyed the puzzle so much, but now hearing your opinions and discussion through everything, I'm giving this a 3 out of 5 hearts of the mountain.
So right down the middle then. Yeah. Okay.
It was fun, but it was a little lackluster.
Yeah. Darcy, what about yourself?
A lot of what Meg said. Again, I enjoyed the puzzles. It was cool. Again, I got the same National Treasure and Indiana Jones vibes from the puzzle aspect, but it was how they were exploring this history and that they weren't exploring it at all. And it was just, don't worry about it. We'll keep going type thing. Really bugged me. And it also, again, it almost feels like they were trying to bring in an Afro-like character, but weren't doing it right. Again, especially because you could bring in the character of Afra, no problem. Like, the Star Wars is no stranger to bringing in teen versions of well-established characters. We see it all the time. So it's just a bit like that much really stuck with me and really brought me out of it. And then the fact that we got the weird looking Star Wars thing with no explanation to why it's there really took me out of it. So I think this might be one of my lowest scores for a Bad Batch episode, because I'm going down to a 2.5 out of 5 Hearts of the Mountain, because it left a lot of cool setups and stuff like that. The first 5 minutes I was interested, but as the episode went on, I was more and more disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, Darcy, I kind of feel like, and it's not just because you wear glasses and you're geeky, but I kind of feel like you're the Tech of our Bad Batch. And so putting Tech and Phee in a room together, I don't know how that would really work out. I feel like they kind of would clash a little bit, just because she'd be like, don't even worry about it, brown eyes. And then he'd be like, well, yeah, actually, you must worry about it because of the calculations. So I kind of feel like it's similar. I mean, you're not as, don't worry, you're not as.
I'm a big science fan and math. I do.
Yeah.
I solve equations for fun because that's the type of guy I am. So I will take that as a compliment, sir.
There you go. This episode was too much filler for me. I think this very much felt like one of those season 1 sort of episodes that we would kind of be like, oh no. I kept hoping that the treasure and the puzzles that they were solving were going to be connected to something bigger, but they just really weren't by the end of the episode. And I don't really know if this had any impact on these characters whatsoever. I think it reminded me a lot of episode 13 of season 1. It's called Infested, where Sid takes the crew on a spice hunting mission and they have to fight a bunch of bugs. But like, even that episode had like an interesting side thing with like a gang leader and what had you with Omega and stuff. But like they still found a way to make that one a little more interesting, whereas this one just kind of felt like the parts of that episode that really didn't work for me. It just didn't hit. I don't know. I think they could have just added a bit more, like we were saying, to what they were actually discovering.
Yeah.
Make the thing at the end of the heart of the mountain, like make that an actual thing. Make it important in any way possible, but it really didn't matter. So I think, honestly, I'm also with you, Darcy. I'm giving this a 2.5 out of 5 Hearts of the Mountain, and it's mostly for mistreating my girl Mel so badly. I think that's the biggest reason. Dave Filoni, if you don't find a way to bring back Mel and make her the hero in some way, I'll be really upset. But that is it for this week's episode of Watch Club for Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts or predictions on the shows we cover in Watch Club, well, listen, you don't have to find a piece of treasure that ultimately doesn't matter and nearly causes the destruction of your ship. Instead, Darcy, can you let the lovely batches know how to reach us by holomessage?
For sure. They can always reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or if that's too much like going on a mission to find a treasure you don't understand anything about, you can reach us on Instagram at wearegeekcentric or on Twitter at geekcentricyt.
That's absolutely correct. And listen, we have some fantastic interviews out at this point. There might even be some new interviews by this point. I don't know. We're recording this in a galaxy far, far away. And so, I definitely think, though, if you are a fan of Bad Batch, you do need to check out our interview with the Bad Batch themselves. I got a chance to sit down with D. Bradley Baker, the voice of Clone Force 99, and Justin sat down with this series' writer Jennifer Corbett and supervising director Brad Rao. So again, subscribe here, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric so you can keep up with all the great stuff that we're doing. Nice little quick episode. Darcy, Megan, thank you so much for joining us for this Watch Club. And as we say,
good soldiers follow orders.
And hopefully it matters.